Not because they're worse, because they're boring. They don't have million-dollar marketing budgets. They don't have flashy influencer contracts. A real goldmine gun is simple. It's reliability per dollar spent. I'm talking about how many thousands of rounds you can send downrange before you even start thinking about swapping major parts. I'm talking about conservative mechanical design, engineering that picks function over fashion. Today, we're pulling 3 of these hidden heavyweights out into the daylight. These are tools that outlive the hype, and they'll outwork the big names when conditions get ugly. Last month, a guy comes into my shop, mid-30s. He tells me he wants a duty-grade home defense setup, and he says it like he's proud of it. He's on a razor-thin $500 budget. He's chasing the usual ghosts, the same stuff he sees trending on his social media feed. Glock 19, SIG P320, maybe a used Smith & Wesson M, and P if he caught me on a good day. So I walk him away from the popular shelf. I put something else in his hand, a CZ. He laughs. Straight up. He tells me he's never even heard of the brand. And right there, that's the sickness in the modern firearms market. We've hit a point where price gets confused with reliability, and Instagram popularity gets mistaken for actual durability. I've spent 18 years on the bench as a gunsmith, tracking failure patterns across thousands of pistols. And I can tell you this with absolute certainty. The market ignores certain guns for one reason. Number 1, CZP-07. The CZP-07 is a hammer-fired, double-action, single-action workhorse, and it's still one of the best-kept secrets in the tactical world. While the industry chases the latest striker-fired trends, the P-07 has been quietly stacking wins. Military contracts, police contracts, across Europe and the Middle East. Not because it's cool, because it performs. But what really separates this handgun from the pack is the slide-and-frame design. Look at a Glock. Look at a SIG. Their slide rails sit on top of the frame. With the CZ, the slide rides inside the frame rails. That's the recoil secret. That setup allows tighter tolerances between slide and frame, and it creates a better seal against mud, sand, and the kind of debris that wrecks sloppy guns. More importantly, it drops the bore axis. That's the distance between the center line of the barrel and your grip, and the P-07 drives that distance down close to the physical limit. So when the primer lights off, the recoil impulse comes straight back into the meat of your palm, not up, not launching the muzzle into the sky. That gives you an almost unfair ability to track your sights through recoil and send follow-up shots fast, clean, and controlled. Now let's talk metallurgy. Inside that slide, you're getting a cold, hammer-forged barrel. And no, that's not just marketing fluff. During manufacturing, a blank gets pounded by massive hydraulic hammers around a mandrel that forms the rifling. That process work hardens the steel. You end up with a bore that's noticeably more durable, and it carries a longer service life than the conventionally rifled barrels you see in most budget-tier pistols. Now the Omega trigger system. This is where the P-07 really shines for practical users. The Omega system is fully modular. It lets you swap the gun from decocker to manual safety in about 5 minutes. All you need is a simple punch. If you want to carry cocked and locked like a traditional 1911, you can. If you prefer a heavier first pull as an extra layer of safety under stress, run the decocker. Documented accuracy. This isn't good for the money accuracy. We're talking sub-2-inch groups at 25 yards with standard factory range ammo. And when it comes to torture-tested reliability, independent testers have run the P-07 through 7,000 round endurance cycles without a single pistol-related failure. It's been frozen in ice, submerged in silt, dropped in fine dust, and that hammer keeps falling every single time. Operational costs matter too. Maintenance on this platform is cheap. A factory recoil spring runs about $15, and the most common wear item, the trigger return spring, that's a $5 fix, and it takes minutes to replace. Now, it's not all sunshine. You've got some realities to respect. The double action, single action learning curve. You've got to put time into it. That first pull is long and heavy. The shots after that are crisp and lighter. That transition demands training to master. Slide manipulation. Because the slide sits inside the frame, you've got less surface area to grab, So if you're trying to rack it with sweaty hands or bloody hands, you need deliberate mechanics. Then there's the aftermarket gap. You're not going to find a million trigger shoes or flashy base plates hanging on pegs at every local shop. This gun isn't meant to be a Lego set for adults. It's meant to run the way it left the factory. At a current street price bouncing between $470 and $520, you're buying a piece of European combat history for the price of a mid-grade plastic toy. It's a goldmine because it rewards the serious shooter who values engineering and build quality over likes on a screen. Number 2. Arex Delta Gen 2. If the CZP-07 is the old-school king of the hammer-fired world, the Arex Delta Gen 2 is the modern challenger to the striker-fired throne. This pistol comes out of Slovenia, and it's a masterclass in workhorse engineering that the American market mostly ignores because there's no massive marketing machine behind it. But don't get it twisted. This is a duty-grade firearm built to meet strict NATO testing standards. A lot of people dismiss the Arex Delta Gen 2 as just another Glock clone. But once you get it on the bench, you see the internals are a different animal. Let's start with the modular chassis system. On a typical polymer pistol, the frame is the serialized part. Not here. The Delta Gen 2 uses a serialized internal steel chassis. Same modular philosophy you see in the SIG P320. That means the grip is basically a plastic shell. You can swap it, stipple it, or replace it for 20 bucks if it gets damaged. The heart of the gun stays the same. Now the striker mechanism. Arex runs what they call a triple safety system. It's a striker-fired setup where the striker is only partially cocked. That adds a layer of drop safety and internal security that a lot of fully cocked striker guns just don't have. And the trigger? Surprisingly crisp. Usually breaks right around 5 pounds. And the reset is shorter and more audible than most factory Glocks. Metallurgy and finish. The slide is machined from a solid block of nitrocarburized steel. That gives you serious resistance to corrosion and wear. The barrel uses a classic Browning-style tilting block design, but with tight lockup tolerances. The end result is a pistol that feels tighter and more premium than the price tag suggests. Now, ergonomics and profile. The Delta is one of the thinnest double-stack 9mm pistols out there. It's noticeably slimmer than a Glock 19. That makes it a dream for concealed carry without giving up that 15-round capacity. Optics ready out of the box. Most Gen 2 models ship with an optics cut slide and a variety of mounting plates. Finding a factory optics-ready gun at this price that actually holds zero under hard use, that's a rare win. Service life. Independent testers have pushed these past 10,000 rounds with nothing but basic lubrication. Wear is consistent. Extractor and ejector show almost no rounding even after heavy training cycles. Now there are drawbacks. Aggressive texturing. The Gen 2 grip texture is very tactical, meaning it's like grabbing sandpaper. Great with wet hands, but if you're carrying inside the waistband without an undershirt, it can chew you up. Proprietary magazines. They're high-quality steel mags, but you can't walk into a big box store and grab a stack off the shelf like you can with Glock mags. You'll be ordering extras online. And then there's the nobody knows it factor. If you try to sell this gun later, you're going to work harder than you would with a big-name brand. Resale value is lower because the general public is still sleeping on how good these really are. Street prices for the Arex Delta Gen 2 usually sit between $350 and $400. When you consider you're getting a modular chassis, an optics-ready slide, and NATO spec reliability for almost $200 less than a basic striker-fired competitor, that's a textbook goldmine. Number 3. Beretta APX A1. The original APX launched back in 2016 as Beretta's heavy hitter entry into the United States Army's modular handgun system trials. It was built from scratch to survive a literal war zone, but it lost the contract to Sig Sauer in early 2017. In the civilian market, that loss crushed its reputation. People didn't want the loser of the trials, and they definitely didn't love the Toblerone slide cuts on that original model. But Beretta didn't quit. They went back to the drawing board and rolled out the APX A1 in 2022. They fixed every aesthetic complaint, every ergonomic gripe, all of it. The APX A1 is built like a tank. It prioritizes mass and mechanical longevity over flashy race gun features. Let's talk about that massive slide. The slide is an investment cast steel beast with a thick cross-section. A Glock 17 slide weighs around 12.7 ounces. The APX A1 slide comes in heavy at 15.9 ounces. That extra weight isn't decoration. It creates a less violent unlock during the firing cycle. More mass means lower slide velocity. Lower slide velocity means slower wear on the locking block. And it also delivers a softer felt recoil. Now the chassis system. Just like the SIG P320, the heart of this Beretta is a separate serialized chassis. Hard anodized aluminum. It has full-length steel rails that give the slide a rock-solid track to run on. And if you ever manage to wear those rails out, which you won't in your lifetime, they're actually replaceable. The recoil system matters too. Beretta uses a flat coil recoil spring design, the same style they run in high-end competition guns. That spring is heavier than a standard round wire spring. It soaks up more energy, and it keeps the internals from battering themselves to death over thousands of rounds. Duty-grade reliability. This platform has been through multiple law enforcement trials across Europe, and it's currently the sidearm of choice for several Italian police units. Ammo versatility. This gun is a garbage disposal for ammunition. It'll eat everything from underpowered 115 grain range brass to dirty steel case Wolf to aluminum case Blazer. And it doesn't miss a beat. Long-term durability. Independent armorers have documented 15 to 20,000 rounds with zero-part replacements beyond basic springs. One law enforcement instructor ran a 10,000-round evaluation and concluded it was as reliable as any Glock, but arguably more accurate. Now we've got the ugly duckling legacy to deal with. Even with the newer, smoother slide serrations, the market has already decided the APX is a loser. If you care what people think at the range, this is not your gun. Slide bulk. That extra mass has a trade-off. The slide is thick. If you want a slim pistol for deep concealment, the APX A1 can feel like a brick on your hip. Aftermarket support. Beretta USA has strong factory support, but you're not going to see an endless ocean of third-party triggers and barrels like you do with more popular platforms. At a current street price between $380 and $420, the APX A1 is a ridiculous value. You're getting a gun designed for U.S. Army trials, built by the oldest firearms manufacturer in the world, for about $200 less than a Glock 17. At the end of the day, I'm not here to rank these from best to worst. We're not playing a numbers game for views. What we're looking at are three different mechanical answers to the same life or death question. What is the most reliable duty-grade tool I can get for the absolute least money? The CZP-07 is for the shooter who respects old-school European engineering and understands the real-world advantages of a double-action system. It's for the person who wants a pistol that rewards practice and gives match-grade accuracy without a match-grade price. The Arex Delta Gen 2 is for the modern, modular-minded shooter. You want slim, you want optics ready, you want striker fired, and you need a pistol that can survive high-volume training while disappearing under a t-shirt. It proves you don't need a $1,000 custom build to get a modular, high-performance carry gun. And the Beretta APX A1, that's for the person who wants a literal tank. A pistol born out of military trials that prioritizes mass, durability, and raw cycling reliability over whatever is trending on an Instagram feed this week. The market forgot these guns because they don't have the marketing budgets to buy your attention. They're not bad. They're just boring because they work every single time without needing a shelf full of aftermarket parts to stay alive. I've spent 18 years watching guns come and go through my shop. I've seen the hyped models fail on the bench, and I've watched these three platforms keep on ticking through thousands of rounds of neglect and hard use. So the next time you're standing at the gun counter and some guy in a tactical vest tells you you have to spend $600, $700, or $800 on a specific name brand just to keep your family safe, remember these three gold mines. Reliability per dollar is the only metric that matters when the chips are down. You can trust your life to these for the next decade, and you'll still have $300 left over for a case of training ammo and a professional defensive course. Because at the end of the day, the best gun in the world is useless if you can't afford the ammo to master it. Make sure you like, subscribe, and drop a comment below. I want to hear from you. Have you run any of these ignored gems? Or is there another gold mine I missed? Let's get the conversation going. Stay sharp.